Call this meeting to order at 5:30. And do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
Do not have any.
All right. Accept a motion to approve the minutes of October 25th and November 6th. So moved.
Second.
And moved and seconded to accept the minutes of October 25th and November 6th as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Can you pass those? Sure.
Thank you, Josh.
All right. Do we have any public comment on any items not on the agenda? Yes. Certainly, sir.
I have 10 copies here, but should I hand them to you before I talk?
Sure.
Okay. I went to the 5th annual conference or convergence of 350 Vermont on Saturday.
Could you state your
And,
name, please?
pardon me?
Could you state your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, my name is Doug Grant, I live in Putney. And one of the things on the agenda was what they want to do is 350 is a action-oriented organization. Their campaign right now is to get all of the towns, all 246 towns in Vermont, to sign a resolution that would support the state in its comprehensive energy plan. And I guess the next meeting would be, the meeting this would go for is like March 6th. So it does not have a lot of time. Well, being from a new person here, I thought I'd take on the ball for Putney. And since I have friends and a network already built in, maybe we could do something. Personally, I think this is insufficient for what we need to do. If you read through the resolution, it talks about reducing carbon emissions by 90% by 2050. There are already other proposals out there that are much more aggressive than that. So the details, I'm not totally convinced are correct, but I am going to go move this forward for 350 Vermont as a good soldier. And I just want to let you know in advance this is what I'll be doing with the help of my friends at the Putney Huddle. Again, this is a draft. Nothing on here is sacred except item number 1, which has 4 bullets. So basically is asking Vermont to do something more aggressively than they have already as a state. Do you have any questions about this? Or this is just kind of a forewarning of where I'm going. I just got this today.
Looks good. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, whether we would warn it without you petitioning or not would be a discussion we would have to, but certainly seems like a
Personally,
viable
by the way, I
cause.
came by today and I got the 5% number, which is 87 signatures. And I'm aware of all of that, the procedure, but personally, I would want to sit down with a lot of residents of Putney and make sure this has support of the population before I move forward with it. This is the way I operate.
Yeah.
I just got this Saturday, so it's a little bit rushed at this point, but I thought, as Laura suggested, that I come and let you know about it ahead of time. So it will be probably modified.
And the date for an article that we would need to have that to be
From January
Make it on the morning.
14th.
Yeah, it's typically the
Yeah,
second.
right.
Time is short.
Yeah, no, I just,
Especially with the
just to
holidays.
clarify that.
That's fine.
For you, you're right.
No,
Appreciate
That's
that.
your time frame to work with, and
Yeah, appreciate it.
You know, I think one of the nice things about something like this town meeting is that it allows for a discussion about it, sort of regardless of whose feelings are what, and opens it up for.
And like I said, I'm a little more radical in terms of we have to do something more aggressively. There was something else I wanted to say, but I've forgotten. But that's okay. This will be worked out, and we'll keep you apprised as where we stand.
Good, great, thank
good,
you.
thank you, sir.
The way this is presently warned would be a public voice vote as opposed to Australian ballot unless you name it to be an Australian ballot.
Probably. I don't know the details of that. I know what an Australian ballot is, but I don't know what their intention is.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
If you want to sort of engage conversation at town meeting, it would want to be
Yeah.
not the Australian
Not
ballot.
I remember what I wanted to say is that the purpose of this is, we here in Vermont do not have a lot of emissions or power compared to like California or Texas or New York. But this is to show the nation that we, as the little brave state, a brave little state, are doing something, and we hopefully can motivate other people to do the same thing, other towns around the nation. 246 cities or towns is a lot, I think, but 350 Vermont is optimistic.
Good.
Great.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else?
Laura Chapman. As a citizen, I've noticed that, and I'm concerned about the fact that we don't have access regularly to a town clerk treasurer as we should. And so I'm asking that you put it on the agenda at town meeting, that we have a discussion about allowing the select board to appoint a town clerk / treasurer in the future.
Put it on the agenda.
It's on
For-
tonight's agenda.
For the town meeting.
But
Yes.
as
For-
a warning.
Yeah, you-
Yeah.
Get it on the warning as a
Yes.
vote for.
Yes.
I mean, we are discussing that as
Tonight.
we go. It's-
Yeah, I mean, I think our feeling about that in thinking, as you're probably aware, Act 27 was instated last year, which allows us to vote on that at town meeting. You know, we didn't want to be premature in having a discussion about this. You know, we're now just about 6 months into not having a clerk present, and it sort of highlights some of the reason why that legislation was enacted. And, you know, I think we're sort of, the issue is sort of getting forced. Because, you know,
you've handled it.
even if we don't know what the situation is going to be 2 months from now, by the time we have to think about warnings and articles, et cetera, you know, we've had to make the choice to do that. So I think that that's something we're definitely going to be considering
We're
hard.
certainly aware that it's been frustrating for a lot of people, that are limitation of services. And I actually would just take one brief moment to frankly to thank Anita for
Absolutely.
her extraordinary service in the last couple of weeks. Barbara's been out being ill, and there's, you know, just that much more pressure on her, and the fact that we were able to, you know, put together a vote.
Yeah.
For the,
Two.
Two votes, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Anita.
Yes, thank you, Anita.
And Barbara in her
And
absence
Barbara,
as
of course.
well. Yeah.
And the folks that are still here in the office.
Yes, we appreciate you.
Good.
Anything else? Or is that?
That'll do it.
All right, well then we'll get to new business, and we've got SeVED's request for an article. I recognize you folks.
Great to see everyone again. How are you? I bring different.
Calendars? It's the calendars.
Brief agenda item with you folks tonight, but we wanted to, if you weren't able to join us at our annual meeting, we handed these out. This is our first really compilation of the impacts with regard to implementation of the SeVEDs and the work that's going on with BDCC. It's a little dense. There's a lot of information there. We are happy to, answer questions, et cetera, but we also want to say thank you, because a lot of this work is due to the fact that we've had great municipal partners, and Putney certainly has been one. So we're proud to give you this, and we're happy to bring you additional copies if they would be helpful.
So tonight we are here, I know we've been here a few times throughout the year providing the select board with updates on the BDCC and SeVED's initiatives. Tonight we're here to address the annual funding request for the town of Putney. In years past, the select board has voted to list it as the funding request as a separate article. We'll come to town meeting and speak to it. So we just wanted to come, answer any questions that you may have, and hope that that request is up for a vote again.
And do you have you've got a boilerplate kind of article that you're taking to
Yep.
various towns.
Yep. What we've
Can't
typically
imagine.
used in the past for SeVEDs, requesting $3 per person based on population, the total amount, which Putney is a little bit over $5,000, in support of Southeastern Vermont economic development strategies and regional economic development programs and initiatives. So something similar along those lines.
A little over 5,000, we've been
8,
close to
Oh,
8,000 in
sorry,
the past.
excuse me,
Yeah, that's
sorry.
what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
78.
last town meeting, Article 14, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $8,106 for Southeast Vermont economic development strategies for economic development within the Wyndham County region. That was the warrant article, apparently without petition, approved by the board.
Right.
Yes.
So if the board is so inclined, repeat after me to do the same article in the next town meeting. A motion, a second, and pass, and it shall happen.
Do we want to go ahead and do that
Do we want to,
tonight? Any
We can tell
discussion?
I mean-
I mean, we haven't, well, we're here.
Right.
I'm interested in, I see everything, I think this is great. I think this is a useful thing. I see that everything is sort of a combination of BDC and SeVED's information, and I haven't had the time to review it thoroughly enough to know whether there's any breakdown between SeVED's and BDCC in here.
So that's a great segue. There is, we've taken the opportunity in here to talk about the relationship, which is a question that we get a lot. SeVED's does long-term strategic planning with our regional board, and BDCC implements. And so what BDCC is implementing, in addition to they have very significant real estate holdings, they're a significant landlord incubator, but they are implementing a number of the SeVED strategies. What we are coming and talking to you about is saying we would like them to implement these long-term strategic strategies, and we really have to have this regional effort in order to have those implementation efforts. Is that answering your question? Okay. So outside of real estate and, you know, BDCC is a traditional regional development corporation. There's 13 of those. And so they, as I said, they're landlords, they're one of the larger RDC landlords. But they do one-on-one business support. That's really their role as the RDC in terms of expansions, all of that. The workforce programs, when we're looking at increasing the size and quality of the workforce, when we're looking at rural infrastructure, when we're looking at stimulating entrepreneurial activity, those are additional pieces that are kind of coming out of our long term, where do we want to go and what kind of sustained effort are we going to need to get there? What kind of programs are we going to need to start turning things around? So those are the SeVED strategies that BDCC is implementing with local, regional, state, federal support, and very significant investment of their own. And we're happy, we're happy to come back if you need time to contemplate that article.
Yeah, you also don't necessarily need to be here to ask.
Yeah.
We haven't really had a discussion about articles.
Okay, cool, great.
So,
But we're happy to
just
come back
putting
if
that
you'd like.
together,
If we need
right,
to.
is
okay.
both the budget and article season.
I am happy to share a little plug for the internship program. Happy to report that I was working with a CCV, currently enrolled student who's studying elementary education. The individual is from Halifax, and I just placed her at the Putney School running the Y Aspire After program. So I'm happy to kind of take a look at kind of our regional aspect there of kind of bringing the workforce throughout the region. So.
And if I may, I'll share two quick other updates. You're familiar, all of this work is based on our SEDS, which was completed in 2014. I think we've spoken with you about the intention in 2019 that would be a Wyndham-Bennington SEDS, looking at the Southern Vermont Economic Development Zone. We're invited by the federal agency that kind of oversees SEDS development to submit that. So we received funding for that. We had a kickoff to begin that process, and we expect to start having public outreach meetings late winter, early spring, we'll be doing data. And we'll be doing some informal meetings, looking, happy to come and talk with you about what groups meet. You know, it's great to come out with data for like Rotary groups, the Huddle, you know, other groups, and start those conversations. So that'll be happening soon. We also had just recently Southern Vermont Connectivity Summit. And part of that, I don't know where Putney is at in terms of an organization around any connectivity expansions, if there's a need, if there's an effort. But we are starting to organize around tools, other folks that might be able to help share their strategies for doing that. So if that's something that's of interest in Putney, we can add some tools to that. And that's that.
Good. Thank you.
Good?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
All right.
Nice to see you.
All right. Proposals for replacing the copier.
Turn forward right over to
Like
Karen,
Copier.
who's been diligently stacking and setting stuff up. I think there's, in the package, we should find a office equipment copier quotes, November 2017.
This is really hard to read. Is that our copier that did that?
It's only in black and white.
It's totally in black and white, I see, right, exactly.
You wanna lead the charge? Charles, no? Go ahead.
Sure. I mean, there's several quotes here, as you requested. You have all service, Canon, and Newton Business, which is WB Mason now. Okay? And so we broke it down for the 60-month lease. And it's basically the company, the model, how many pages per minute, and the cost for black and white and color. And in the very last column, you'll see the cost per month for each machine. I want to point out too, the all service, like towards the bottom, where it says $75 a month, that is a refurbished machine. It is color. And I did a little research and we think it might be like a 2013 machine.
Mhm.
So keep that in mind when you're looking at that price. Most,
Presumably the support for that is
Remains the
as
same.
if it was new, essentially.
Yeah.
yeah. There is a service contract with all of them. If you'll notice with Newton Business, they also charge a quarterly service fee. So you're looking at about $189 per month with that added in.
Pretty good. And under Newton, we have cost per page, black and white, you say it's in service contract. They've allotted for 65,000 black and white pages within the contract price. All the others are a charge per page.
Sorry, say that one more time.
That the Newton business has an in-service contract,
Yeah.
black and white pages,
Right.
up to 65,000 pages annually. And we run around 60,000 now,
We do.
yeah,
Yeah, at a cost of $660 a year.
total.
Yeah.
But of course, the machine was second off on the Mayflower.
Right. Now, All Service also gave us a 36-month lease option.
On a new machine.
But the costs are
Right.
a bit higher.
So the reality on a 5-year lease is after 3 years, you get to a point of upgrade. And so you're gonna buy out 2 years of lease, start 5 years again, so it's the same thing that happens with the youth in automobiles that are new, that they don't keep through the term of payments. So the numbers seem low, but 5 years from now, will you have the same copier and the same needs?
And what would your assumption about that be? I mean, I would assume that 5 years from now, it will be the same copier and the same needs, but
If we've had a black and white one for 10 years plus,
we can easily get away for color with the next 5, with color for the next 5.
what you don't know is the amount of color use that'll happen once you have availability to color print.
Will be a lot.
All of a sudden, the maps that you were printing black and white and then using your markers to highlight things, you know, you start printing all your maps out with the color schemes. And the key indexes and all of that jazz comes with color. And so the amount of use is really at this point BWAG to know what you're going to end up using. But certainly for every zoning permit in which you go in and do the A&R atlas and you print out the property and the markings and the boundaries and everything, that will come out not black and white, but you'll see color to be able to get distinction.
And this includes alternative, so I'm a little confused as to how the service contracts compare. So this one includes 65,000
Yep, for 75.
bucks a month.
Yep,
But these are $214 a month. This guy, for example, is $214 a month and 49 cents.
.00.
Sorry, yeah, not,
A little over a little under half a cent.
Right, little under
Per
half a
page.
cent. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
So there's no base amount included in that. So it's just a different base. Okay.
different method of billing.
Yeah.
You know, you're paying for a brand new machine and then anything that comes out of it is a per page cost.
Yeah.
And there's just different speeds basically for the units, how many pages per minute they can do.
These are all fairly comparable units, I'm assuming.
Right, so my
Yes.
next question was, right, we've got Canon and what are the other manufacturers or?
Conicum and Alta,
Oh, okay.
Sharp.
Yeah, Sharp is from
New
Disney.
business, yeah.
But any one of these would do what we want them to do. Do either or both of you have an inclination as to what makes the most sense for us?
Based upon what you have decided on for this year for a budget to take action like this,
We don't have many options.
the 75 buck one looks really good. Because I think you had office equipment plus something else in a $2,000 number. Which will, you know, by the time this happens, you'll be almost halfway through the year. But then, in the case of this unit, it may be a stepping stone 3 years from now to then move up to a newer one. Like I said, the thing I worry about the most is when you go 60 months, once you get into the technology realm and you start doing things that you never even conceived of doing before.
Right.
Like color.
Like color, without crayons, that you start utilizing it.
Yeah.
And we're replacing both of these units with one single unit. It'll through all the network connectivity and imaging. They all come with controls so that the average person walks up and has to put a code in, and the best they can do is black and white anyway. If you want to do color, then you got to use different coding, and we can code by department for tracking if we desired.
It certainly seems hard to argue with 75
Right,
bucks a month.
it certainly
I mean,
does, and-
Especially,
It's also for, only for 3 years.
that's what I was gonna say too.
As opposed to
If it's
locking
a
it up
disaster, you know, and presumably if it's a disaster and we want to buy a machine, we can work something out with them, I would think.
I would think so.
But I
They can
doubt
refurbish
it'll
and do it
be
again.
a disaster. No reason to think it wouldn't be. They wouldn't be providing it as an option if it was. The only question is the same question I had before, all service versus other. All services where? A little bit up
Charleston.
You said?
Yeah.
Oh, Charleston, New
Charleston.
Hampshire.
Yeah.
And they're the ones supporting the two, well, one of the machines we have here, the other one really does not only support, but if they're here, they look at it if they can. Parts for the one that's sitting in this room don't exist. And parts have to be ordered for the one that's in the other room simply by its age.
Is it a concern? I think you basically addressed this, but a 2013 machine, if we were to get that, it's not a concern for us, the technology aspect
Not
of
to
it.
me.
Not at this point, I wouldn't
No,
think. We don't do enough.
Yeah, the technology that's in-house for the computer systems now, for the software that's in use is not the latest anyway.
Right.
Um,
It was pretty recently, but.
Yeah, it was pretty recently. I think 2013.
ago.
Yeah, exactly. It might match nicely, in fact.
Yeah, I'm thinking the one at the school right now that's used mostly is circa 2013, 14.
And we're aware
Does not work.
that Putney Central School is swapping over to Canon products, I think, next fiscal year.
Yeah.
And that's the same sales rep that was talking Canon with us.
And this is not a Canon, is that right?
No, this is
We
not.
don't know necessarily.
Well, they're out of Keene.
That's the Conoco, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable way to go.
I-
We need a
Would be
motion on that.
prudent given our
Yeah,
finances
such
this year.
instruction would be crystal clear if it was made into a motion.
Move that we authorize Chip and/or Karen to enter a contract with All Service for the refurbished machine at a price of $75 per month, plus imaging,
For 36 months.
for 36 months. Yep.
Second that.
All right. Rather than recap all that down, rather than repeat all that, we are going to lease for 36 months from All Services in Charleston, New Hampshire, a refurbished color copying machine. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. How much room does it take up?
It'll replace what's there.
No, is it about, I'm just
About the same
curious, is
size.
it about the same size?
Yeah,
And what are we doing with the,
part of the trade.
they take away the old
I hope
machines,
so.
right? We take your old refrigerator away when we bring it in.
Says all service on them, so I'm hoping, yeah,
But did we find out if we do own those outright?
you do.
We do.
Yeah, you do, you bought them outright, and then
Right,
paid
okay.
for service for them.
There's no value to them?
We want to put them out on the
Craigslist?
front porch with a $100 price tag on them or something?
Black and white,
Surplus to revenue?
black and white, black and white.
All right.
Want one to know? I'll bring it up.
There's no room there's definitely no room in my house for that.
You'd end up sleeping outside, right?
That's right. Running the copier 24. All right. So,
All right.
on to the next. And we have an approval to renew the health equity service contract.
So we, the town of Putney has a contract with Health Equity to administer Putney's HRA plan, Group C. The contract itself, that's different. Contract itself, we got a copy of just this afternoon. In our research,
Do we have anything in our package related to this or not?
No.
Yeah.
our research, this is the direct debit cards that our employees have based upon single-family couple plans that they can draw $1,300 or $2,600 out of the HRA as part of their health insurance premium benefits. I find no evidence that we pay Health Equity except through the Blue Cross Blue Shield premiums. But they are a third-party vendor, which has a contract that says they are going to administer, and this is all HIPAA regulations, because it's medical expense to employees that is not allowed to be shared. This is a separate cash account that we have with People's United Bank. It's not one of the ones I closed intentionally because this is the one that feeds those debit cards. There is 2 placements for signatures by an official of the town to sign, which I can sign as town manager. Its renewal is due January 1st of 18. This one ends December 31st. So if you would like, we can renew it now, or I can put it back on the agenda and email you copies of this for review. It's all boilerplate health insurance premium process.
Sounds like a really good reading.
Well, it's not. There is a resolution, certificate of resolution that I can as well sign that basically states that we acknowledge they are going to represent our employees and track our employees' costs, and it is a violation of federal law to share that with anyone. Okay,
That's the part of it.
that's part of it. That's why we don't administer it ourselves, by the way. There are communities who do administer their own contributions like this.
Yeah, it could be of a certain scale or something.
No, you have to make sure that you don't show anybody that what each employee is drawing on the system.
Right. Yeah.
And if it's in your accounting system, it's pretty easy to
Hard
see.
to, hard to, yeah, cover that. All right. I'll make a motion that we approve Chip to
Health equity service contract.
Renew the contract.
review and renew the contract as presented. I think he's already reviewed it, but to double check to make sure it's all in order and be the signature.
All right, second.
All right. Moved and seconded to approve, to renew, to have Chip review and renew the health equity service contract. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll be happy with that.
One more thing out of the way. Oh, an appointment to the lister. I'm assuming you're here, John. Speak to us about that.
Copier. As you know, I'm John Johnson from the Lister's office, and we have a vacancy in the Lister's office as a result of Chris Landon being hired by the State of Vermont Tax Department. Jordy and I recruited Karen Shapiro to take Chris's place. She has sent to the town manager a letter of interest. We've interviewed her and would recommend that you appoint her for the unexpired term of Mr. Landon, understanding that she'll have to be elected at town meeting in March 2018.
And that's a 3-year term in which he was in the first term, is that correct?
He was
First year.
elected to a 3-year term at the
At the
2017
last
town meeting, so it'd be a 2-year term.
Ready to undertake this?
I think, yeah.
Good.
So to be clear, to fill the position through March town meeting this year,
And have to
run
be
to fill the balance of
elected,
2
exactly.
years.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. One of the reasons we like her is Jordy and I both are from West Hill. Karen lives in East Putney. There's a little geographic balance to the Lister board.
I know, one woman is equal to 2 men.
Undoubtedly true.
Bring a little order to that office, please.
He's the one who said balance, I'm just pointing out the facts.
Sounds like pretty workable to me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No, that you were.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the appointment of, or that we appoint Karen Shapiro to the position of lister for the remainder of Chris Landon's term and to be
Well, to town meeting 2018.
exactly through town meeting and then up for re-election.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, all in favor? Aye. Now it's official.
Thanks.
Great.
Congratulations.
We'll try to get you sworn in tomorrow.
Do you need me to talk about this at all, or?
Yeah, I'm aware of the story, but if you want to hang around, it'll be just as good coming from the
Or
racer's
is that
office.
our next?
The next
Yes.
one is in there, so admissions.
So,
Yep. Next item is errors and omissions, 72 Westminster Road LLC, which is, let's see,
So in your packets, it was
Yep.
dated November 6th.
72 Westminster Road used to be part of the sprawling Baskerville complex. And when I wasn't involved in drawing the deed, when they separated out the residence on Westminster Road, it's the big White House with the for rent sign with
Yeah.
the Massachusetts phone number.
Belongs to, yeah.
Frank Wilson's.
Right,
for-
right, exactly.
Now it's-
We included that multi-car barn on that property. That barn is actually on the Baskerville property.
So when they-
The lot line goes
There
just
are
past
two,
There are two, this is the upper one.
the upper one. It's like a 10-car garage where
Right, yes.
Mr. Wilson used to keep his
Yep.
collectibles.
Yeah.
Right. And so since that building is not part of 72 Westminster Road, it shouldn't be on the tax bill, but it was.
But there's no change in any value, it's
No.
just which value is associated
Correct.
with which
There's
property.
no change in value of the building, but the building was listed on 2 properties and it can only be on one.
right, yes.
So we lose the value on one property.
But
The other one already has it.
Keep it on the other one.
Yes.
Exactly.
And do we owe Greg anything for?
It depends if his
having
bill's
been-
already been paid, but you'll get a corrected bill after the listers make the change after you approve the errors and omissions. Then you'll get a corrected bill.
So we need a motion.
Need a motion to
So
approve
moved.
the error and
A
omission.
move to approve the errors and omissions, parcel number 07-04-72 at 72 Westminster Road.
21.
Dash 21.
That was 21.
Sorry, 21.
Yep,
Did you get that, Karen?
yeah.
Thank you.
It'll look right.
If they're not changing second.
Yeah.
Second?
Yep.
Shorthand.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thank you.
See ya. Thanks,
Thank
Karen.
you.
People, open Saturday. if you want to see 'em. I'll be there.
6-foot wide trail.
That's right, dress warmly, that office gets cold. Where did they put it? Is the heat better in that office now?
It's a little
It's a
better.
little better, I mean, it was always an icebox for
Yeah.
a long time. All right, on to discussion, implementing Act 27, an Australian ballot vote at the town meeting. And Act 27 is, if you're not familiar, the legislature in the last year allows for select boards to appoint the town clerk and town treasurer positions as opposed to an elected official, and then having an election. So that's the discussion.
So the method of this is the position of clerk, the position of treasurer in Putney is an elected official position. Therefore, to change it to be an appointed position must be done by the same method in which the position is filled, and that's by Australian ballot. So in March, either the select board directly can petition an article in which the position gets changed to an appointed position for the treasurer, and a separate article for appointed position for the clerk, and it has to be on the Australian ballot vote. If successfully passed, then the board immediately can appoint, and that changes the position
No. 45 days till we can appoint.
within 45 days.
Oh, is that right?
Within 45 days.
Oh, I thought it was a 45-day waiting period and then we could, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had that backwards.
So the only time you can do this is during a regular annual town meeting. So it would have to be, if it was going to be petitioned by anyone in the public, they need to obviously be heard, 87 signatures on a petition. And the language on that petition should be very specific, so if someone wants to do that, and they need help, come see me. If the board wishes to do it, we will have counsel draft the article and make sure that it is appropriate for what we're trying to do.
All right, so I've got just a brief question about that. Because it would be Australian ballot, there would not be discussion of the article at town meeting.
There
Would
certainly
we
can
then-
be still.
No.
Okay.
Of Australian ballot issues?
Right, and that's what.
This is
sort
a
of
ballot item
My
that
understanding.
can be discussed in terms of information at town meeting.
Is that clarified in the legislation?
Any article that is for Australian ballot, to be voted on by Australian ballot, you can still have discussion about it at town meeting. That's what town meeting is for.
Okay.
Wasn't under that impression,
Yeah.
certainly. Yeah,
Yeah,
we should double check that, but.
Yeah, and just in general, just, we should probably have some kind of,
we have
Public informational
several
meeting.
hearings if you so desire as well.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
I mean, it'd make
even,
it
whether
clear
it's a
what-
hearing, are we required to have
You're not informational
informational or a hearing of any sort?
Yeah.
No, none of that's
No.
required.
None of that's required. It's advantageous, but not required.
Absolutely, yeah.
If it is, again, a petition by the electorate, then the board has got to put it on the agenda. And so, one of the advantages of a petition is then the onus has not been placed on the board. If the board places it, then the board needs to answer to placing it.
Which, as I sort of inferred earlier in the discussion, I don't have reservations about
Us.
a decision
taking
to do that at this
this
point. I mean, I don't know how much discussion you had. Chip and I and Karen talked a little bit about this the other day, whether, basically to warn this for tonight so that it opens the discussion. I don't think we need to move on this tonight.
You do not.
And sort of same as said,
Right.
as we're putting together
Yes.
articles.
And it allows, public comment.
Exactly.
Between now and.
Whenever that is. Yeah.
January 14th or whatever.
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah,
date.
typically you'll adopt your warning second week in January.
Yeah, and we usually try and get a copy of that sort of on the table as early as we can.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
So are you going to draft that article so that we sort of have something to take a look at and say, the wording of it?
I can probably find one from.
Right, no, I'm assuming you're right, or is
Yeah.
there just some kind of
And
basic
I think that
boilerplate?
personally, my preference would be that the public make that decision, that they want to petition it, and that they get signatures. And that if they want to do that, we make sure that their petition is properly worded. And there should be two, one for clerk, one for treasurer.
Yes.
Because there are two elected positions, and so,
they would each need to be petitioned individually, is that right?
yes,
Yeah,
they
two
would be,
articles on the
because
Australian ballot.
you can't
Because it's
change
two separate
two
ballots.
separate positions.
Yeah, okay.
And this approach may be a resolution to an unsolvable problem.
Resolved, yeah.
And then a year from now, or 2 years from now, we petition to go back to an elected position. But if that's going to happen, that's gonna happen at a that can happen at a special meeting, and then take effect at the next annual
At the-
meeting
at the
to
meeting,
elect somebody.
To have an election, right?
Yeah, so this can solve what may be a short-term problem and then be reverted back to, if the public so deems it desirable, to go back to elected. But basically, we're walking with our hands tied.
And I don't know whether you can answer this or anybody can answer this. Is there technically a difference between an appointed position and an employee? I mean, why,
Elected
you know,
position
why,
versus an appointed position?
you know, like you're not technically an appointed position, are you?
Yes.
You are,
I am
okay. I
at
guess
the
we-
will and
yes.
discretion of the board by
Yes,
majority
you were,
vote.
Yeah.
Okay, I think of you as, yeah, I guess it's, so for all practical purposes,
We
they're
changed Chip's
one and the
position
same.
from,
Yes,
So appointments, any position that has been appointed by the select board can also be unappointed by the select board. There are a few exceptions of the process you must follow if you want to
like
remove someone.
contract type
Yes.
things, yeah.
And so One of the requirements then is if you've established that you're gonna appoint, then appointments take place every year when you have your organizational meeting, you reappoint the fence viewer, the, you know, pound keeper, the layer of coal, all those positions.
Lister position.
And so the clerk and the treasurer, if were to become appointed, then annually they get appointed. A pitfall, again, is with a change in leadership, at town meeting, all of a sudden there's a different appointment.
Right.
And the position's continuity is not left intact again as well. Traditionally doesn't happen. I mean, once someone is there, they're there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's plenty of examples of attempts to remove
So with an elected position, it would remain the 3-year
three-year
term
term.
as opposed to a year-by-year reappointment
Yeah.
being brought forward. Well, that's something to think about as well.
And would you assume that, as with the town manager position, either or both of those would be a contract position? No.
No,
They would just be a salaried annual position as an appointee?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it wouldn't have the same contractual agreement, but it would have the
Correct.
contractual agreement that we have with all our other
employees. Yeah.
Okay.
Appointments at will of the board, and the only one who has a contract traditionally is the manager. Yeah.
Right. And that,
And so the only employee,
that term is
the only
term
employee you
of
have is the
contract
manager.
duration, certainly.
I guess that's technically true, yeah,
Yeah, all other appointments or elected officials are autonomous of the manager.
yeah.
Okay, so ideally, we're looking for a petition from the public to bring forward for this.
I think we can choose either way, but I don't think we need to do that right now. I mean, I
No,
think,
I mean,
you
I think
know,
we're
putting it on the
putting it
table.
out there and saying, let's, see that this, I mean, I think we're all in agreement that we'd like to see it come to a vote at town meeting
Yes.
and present it one way or another, so.
Yeah, and as Chip pointed out, whether we like to see it or not, it's a short-term solution to a
Exactly.
to a short-term problem, and then maybe, once we go that route, I would assume it's nice to have the option to reverse it if we choose to, but I think that's unlikely given, at least in the longer short term, because that memory of
The middle ground.
the potential result
Yes.
is problematic. And we probably don't want to repeat that if we don't need to. So.
Right, and because they're two positions, one may become appointed, one may not.
Right.
So, and that's because they are two positions
They
now.
are
They've never
separate
been
terms,
combined.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
all right, so that is the only reason it's on the agenda, is so that we are acknowledging public discussion about it at this time. And the public certainly is more than welcome to provide input.
And we would appreciate it if they provided input, as some have.
As we already heard tonight.
Yeah.
too, you know.
I would just point out that on the agenda, Australian has an extra I in it.
Well, it was on horseback.
Right.
Spell check, didn't catch that.
No, I put it in the dictionary, it's perfect.
Learn.
It was the copy machine's fault.
That's it.
It'll be highlighted in color soon.
Somebody give that guy a
Color.
I think the British like aluminium.
That's exactly. Or color.
I appreciate it, it's still all at my expense. All
Tomato, right?
right,
Okay. The only thing I see highlighted under old business is the Putney Fire Department Internal Operation Quarterly Report.
yes,
From Tom?
I believe is in your packet,
Yep.
and I believe may have even been emailed to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, without going through the 5 or so pages of it. The general gist is the compensation is making a difference, but the long-term impact of losing membership may put town of Putney, just like many municipalities, and having to rethink what they're going to do about public safety, EMS, fire, and police. That's it's costly, and people just don't have the time they used to have. So if you'd like to review any more, or have me have Tom appear at the next meeting, we can, but this is available as a public document. If the board would like, I can post it up on the web, but at this stage.
It probably should be, just
Okay.
so people can see it, but, or it's available here, I guess, either way.
Yeah.
But if it's easy, if it's already in a digital format, then that's well posted.
I have PDF, I think, so yeah, we can get it to the web.
I don't think there's any reason to have Tom come in to discuss it unless he feels there's anything.
Right,
Yeah,
fairly soon, we'll be looking at his
Budget.
budget at any rate.
And he'll be here anyway.
Address it at that
Yeah.
point.
370 set for the calendar year.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's
better than one day.
roughly typical of the last several years, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah. Somewhere in there, you'll find that a couple of them delivered a child.
I heard about that.
So, I just put it on the agenda as an item because it was something to be tickled, and he provided the report. I wanted to make sure you've got it to review. Any questions you can rifle either, through me to Tom or directly communicate with Tom. But your objective by paying for showing up at emergency calls is working and functioning, but they're still losing membership for other reasons. All right?
Town manager's report.
Yeah, a couple
What do you got
couple
on there
things.
for us?
So at the last meeting, I had indicated I had no idea whether or not we had an auditor for the present fiscal year that we're in, and indicated I would contact John Budget first to see whether or not he was interested in continuing. John Budget fortunately sent us a contract that says he is auditing this year and next year. Which led to us trying to dig out all contracts for all types of services that we have entered into, as well following up with town council on the contract that we requested between Brookline and us, between Westminister and us, for the money that we share. And so we are on a, if you will, slight warpath to collect and index all of these contracts so that we can put our hands on them. And they may exist, but they've been scattered. So if you can't tell, if you walk in my office, things are a little different. And so we are trying to focus on getting all the financial records and documentation, agreements, billing, whatnot, in with what is now the bookkeeper's office. So file cabinets have been consolidated there for the financial records, the debt service, and customer files. As they should be for an audit. Everything financially is in one spot, we can put our hands on it. So that first revelation led us to the next step of trying to find all our contracts. So the next one down, which is Wyndham County Sheriff's notice, again, we budget for 2,000 hours per annum, already at $70,000. And he's informing us through this letter of our rates. Should the board continue the present amount of hours that we contract with Wyndham County Sheriff, this is in your present budget, that amount of money, $70,000.
70, right?
Yeah. So that would be a flat budget in the next fiscal year if the board wanted to continue that contract. Anything less, you see the value per hour ends up going up.
Yeah.
Okay? We still have on the website a statement about police coverage and entering into 6 months with the sheriff's office and whatnot.
Right.
We're long past that, I believe, by now. I think, so I'm thinking I should simply take that down as police services being evaluated for 6-month period.
And you don't, yeah, well, it was gonna be further discussion at town meeting.
Right.
Last March,
Well, last March, and I think,
or
again,
coming up.
I think we were gonna decide whether or not we felt it was worth it to continue with the
Yeah.
full year contract.
Okay,
Which,
Even at this upcoming time.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think this was, in some ways, from July 1 until March of this year was the trial period of what that looked like. But do we have a full year contract this fiscal year or not?
yes.
Yeah, we do.
We do,
Yes.
right, so that was
Through
what we
June
entered,
30.
exactly, and then it
Yeah.
was giving you discussion as to whether we would continue that as of
Exactly.
June 30, as of July 1 next year,
Next year, okay.
if that was a comfortable thing.
So I may read that and rewrite it so it's clearer that at March town meeting, we're gonna talk whether or not we wanna keep 70 in the budget for next year for the same 2,000 hours or not.
Right.
And by that time, then we gotta have our statistics for what we've gotten for that time frame.
Yeah, I mean, I would, well, I guess we should invite comment on that
Yeah.
at a future, you know, when it's listed as a discussion, as a budget discussion.
Yeah, right.
Exactly, you know.
And I think that's what some people wanted
Safety.
to see were some of the details, you know, as far as getting this contract with a class 3 officer. Are we getting really, the community policing, as we were kind of hoping to get, rather than just the traffic enforcement and stuff like that. I guess it would be good to see what else is happening besides traffic enforcement. I know that was, the safety committee was wondering, was this gonna go further than just traffic enforcement? Were we gonna see community policing like we saw initially after the grant that we got through Wyndham County Sheriff?
And we haven't recently gotten a report of their activities, have we? or-
Every month when I get a bill, I get a listing of daily activities and citations and where patrols were. And
I don't think we've
I
looked at that
haven't-
recently,
No,
but
If
but
you
I
would,
may have
if
just
you'd
missed it.
like them, I'll drag them out for the last, since July 1. And
I'm not sure it needs to be since July 1, I think, you know,
there's only
a sampling of the most
5
current or
pages.
something. Well, I guess if it's just
5
5
pages.
pages, then yeah.
So, that, and also as well, one of the things on the hit list that Cynthia left was to have a meet and greet with the deputy who serves the area
Right.
here in town. And I'm not sure where and when that has ever been strategically done before, but,
Right.
Um,
I'm not sure, I think that was right at that transitional period with everything.
Yeah, it
Kind
was.
of lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
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 No, because, I mean, you know, it's been a sort of simple meet and greet here with us in the past, and then I know that, you know, we've introduced people at town meeting in the past. We've, you know, Josh, when he first started, came to several select board meetings.
Yeah.
And then we sort of told him he didn't have to do that, and then he stopped doing it, so I'm not sure we should have told him he had.
Have to go to some.
Yeah. But we should probably invite them back to talk about their, you know, Keith, back to talk about his end of it, and/or our current deputy.
So
At
if
some-
I-
at some
if I
point.
coordinate that line item budget discussion with presence of the deputy or the sheriff.
Probably makes sense.
That
Okay.
certainly makes sense.
And then, Steve, maybe you consider whether you think the public safety meeting, the public safety committee should
Take a look at it.
Or
take
at
a look
least,
at it
you
as
know,
well, and/or
Or
discuss.
participate with at that point when it's on the agenda for our
Right.
meeting.
Yeah.
If they want to do so.
Which would be just what people's impression is of how things have been going.
Right.
I mean, I haven't been hearing much of anything, so, you know.
Yeah, it's been pretty quiet.
It's sort of a no news is good news, but,
When I've gotten requests, I've turned them over to you, Todd.
Yeah.
to handle and solve disputes and things that are not necessarily of a criminal nature.
But it's helpful to have a
But
badge.
but having a badge makes a difference
Yeah.
to what people's impressions are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, and I guess I would say that the other people we should check with on that is probably school administration. And
Well, that's-
make sure they have felt comfortable.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I haven't noticed the presence of, anyone there at all. I mean.
I see them out front.
Up front, but I guess within the school, I think that was gonna be part of it too. Is
Yeah.
kind of just getting to know the community a bit and the kids.
And being a
things like
face
that.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I might have missed it, but I haven't seen it.
right. I mean, part of the reason that used to be so visible is because Melissa, we certainly see Jess Fellows at the school regularly.
She's there.
Because she has
daily,
a
almost,
child there. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. But we used to see Melissa there as well, and we don't see Ian because Ian either doesn't have kids or they aren't at Putney Central, I don't know. But
We could be confused for a while.
that could be too, but her might have a comment.
Okay. So then I'll coordinate to get them here when we're talking about that budget line item.
Yeah, and I probably should shoot out an email too about the safety committee too, because you had the rescue budget too, or a contract also, I'm assuming.
Rescue Inc.
Rescue Inc,
Yes, yeah, ambulance service, yeah.
Yep, so.
And if we try to do them all on the same night,
Mhm.
yeah.
And we don't necessarily need somebody from Rescue Inc. here, I didn't think, but,
Unless there's a big.
Well,
change.
most of the information we can get, Tom could get for us. How many
Right,
calls have transpired here, and
Right.
what level of service has been called for.
you haven't seen a proposed contract from Rescue
I
yet.
have not.
We
So we'll
might
get-
want to touch base with them and just make, they're usually good about getting that to us, but we might want to just make sure they do.
Add to the list. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's, November already, so.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, they would. I
Almost
think it's
halfway
usually,
through.
I think we usually see it by now.
We usually see it by budget season, definitely, so sometime
This-
in the next couple of
okay.
weeks.
Part of our discovery.
Is that a yearly contract or?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's also, it's a yearly contract, but it's based on population.
Right.
So, it's I'm blanking on the term they use for it, but it's.
Per capita.
Yeah, no, but
Yeah.
There's a
an assessment.
Yes, there we
Yeah.
go.
Um, Last year, 52,000, is that right? Something like that?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, it's $5,400 monthly.
So it's a little more than
It's
50,
60.
so, yeah.
Yeah, because we just got a bill for it.
Yeah, 5,400
An
monthly
invoice,
is what it
yeah.
says. Yeah.
I'll have to look for that, dig deeper.
Indeed. Okay, then in your package as well, Blue Cross Blue Shield notice. And on the top of that notice, you see there's an annual premium, 63, 161.28. This is based upon your present enrollment, so it is not a budget number. Primarily because we have some unfilled slots in which the slot could be filled with someone who needs a family plan. And so when we budget, you will find my tendency is to budget family plan on every empty slot or every
To err on the
possible
high
change,
side,
to
yeah.
err on the high side.
Yeah.
That would include contributions to the HRA as if we have them. We don't need to make the deposit into the HRA through the budget process until the HRA calls for needing money. And because every day I'm online banking, I'm watching that HRA account until I see that I need to move money into it. This number also includes the library employees. So again, there's a distribution of general fund, highway, and library, of which library is a separate entity per se of employees, but they're part of this. And if they have any anticipated changes in staff there, we'll have to make sure that we work with them to know what numbers they want to plug in. The library, as a side note, is planning on coming in December 6th to present their budget.
And is that the first department that is doing that?
They are the first ones who requested that.
Right,
date.
okay, yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
the,
Yeah, we talked,
Yeah.
can't remember whether you were there the other week, we talked about whether,
The last-
oh no, when we were here the other day, whether we were likely to have the next meeting, which is the Wednesday of
Yep.
Thanksgiving, I believe. So, Steve and I both agreed we don't think we usually do that.
We reconvene sometime in February.
I haven't found yet.
All nice and tan.
Yeah, I'm traditionally looking back through agendas on the server. That Wednesday before Thanksgiving doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist for years.
Right.
So it appears that that's.
The day after Thanksgiving. And,
So the question is whether or not you desire to have a special select board meeting either next week to make up for it, or the following week, or a different day that week, whether you feel you need one. If you want to wait until December 6th, I still would like to have one board member be assigned to sign the at least accounts payable warrant for the 22nd, when we normally, with every other week, cut our accounts payable checks.
I'll make a motion that Scott do that.
Sure.
If that's all right.
That's
with you.
fine, yeah.
Second.
Right.
And then it'll still be presented at the next available board meeting, but you're authorized to represent the board so that we can still do our payables. Because there'll be plenty of them.
And what's the, do you have a date for that?
22nd. It
22nd?
would be the 22nd Wednesday, so I would, after school, 3 o'clock. Before 4, but after 3, or just let me know you're on your way so I can make sure we got one printed.
You want Scott to do it, or?
Yeah, no,
Did you say-
I suggested Scott.
yeah, no, I get
Okay,
it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I can do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Perfect.
So it'll probably in the morning. Oh,
Checks aren't done until the afternoon because
Okay.
Wednesdays are payroll and AP process days, so they're usually printed around 2.
okay.
Yeah, works for you?
Yeah,
Unless
if
you're-
not,
Unless you're going away.
Yeah, no,
Right.
we are, but it's briefly, and I think actually we were driving up on Thanksgiving Day.
All right,
I will double check that, so.
Okay, no, I think
Awesome.
I'll be around, it's an issue.
Right, and if it's next.
So I'll amend that motion to be Scott, unless he's not present.
Unless I
In which
direct
case it'd be
one of-
Steve. Exactly.
one of the other board members.
Yeah.
All right, we'll work it out. They'll get signed.
And so as a reminder, though this may be ready on Friday, November 17th, a week from Friday, is the second installment of taxes are due. For those who got pink slips, arrangements for payments on delinquent water or sewer need to be made by then. Because the intention was on the 17th, theoretically, you pay your taxes and all your delinquent water and sewer by that day. Those are the only 2 reminders I had relative to us getting some money. That warrant on the 22nd is likely to have a distribution to the school. So it will be $1 million warrant,
Right.
okay? Just so you all are aware that we're gonna pay the Putney Central School another third, and Brattleboro Union High School their portion. So that'll be on that warrant. It's gonna get calculated as if we've gotten the money. Wonderful and good news.
We didn't vote on that.
Oh, did that need a vote? If it does.
Yeah, second.
It's been moved and seconded, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Just going back to this for a sec, the Blue Cross thing, you might have said this, how does this compare to last year?
About 10% higher.
10%.
Yeah. And because we're in fluctuation, so people that were here were on it, people that left, so.
Right.
Right. All right. Anything else on that? Right, no?
Nope.
On the financials?
They were printed out and provided copies. And again, the same items that we know we're gonna be over with. some of the impacts that we have again, the manager's salary because of the contract that was done with Nimerick is way out of whack. Again, the budget number that was done for recycling for $40,000 isn't gonna be touched. Our anticipation at some point, I'll make a recommendation, we move so much onto the fire department on-call. Highway is trending in a great condition. Well, we'll see what it looks like in a month.
Right.
If it snows this weekend more than what somebody says.
Ice we get in December, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing more outstanding than what was in the past based on our present situation. Again, I want to emphasize how critically important it has been to have Anita Coombs available to fill in for the situation that we're in. And now that the assistant clerk, Barb Taylor, has needed to be absent from the office, has put more demand on Anita to be available. And we are very fortunate still to have her services. And again, she ran 2 elections on behalf of, the clerk. So those, at this point, because we're not paying the salary of the clerk, we are paying Anita.
And in a conversation I had with Anita, she seemed not thrilled to be doing it, but very willing.
Willing but tired.
Exactly,
That's
that's what, yeah, no, I think she would be happy not to be doing it, but is willing, and reiterate your thanks to her for doing that.
So we have orders, bills, warrants.
Any other questions on the financial report? If not, we got warrants.
Yeah, if you read those at home and come up with questions, write them off to me.
The only thing related to that $40,000 for the recycling, have you heard from anyone else in town about recycling?
It has, very seldom I get a call, what are we doing about it? And when we explain, we're waiting until March now. And that the majority of it has quieted down. I think when we start talking budget, we may see representation again that has desires. I also point them to the, I want to say, August 13th meeting that has the backup of the budgets for Westminister and Rockingham's transfer stations and curbside pickup as references to here's some real costs.
Oh, what it actually,
Right.
Of what it costs for those other 2 towns when you start saying, let's just
Yeah,
go pick
no,
up
that was a
costs.
very
So
helpful answer.
many of them, I don't know if they've actually gone and looked at it, but I can spit those numbers out and they're like, yeah, I guess it's more complicated than just throwing a couple cans down there.
Right. Yeah.
So, and based upon the other, if you will, fish in the frying pan, taking action on that, we may not have the money to do it. Having to use it for other purposes.
Have either of you been down to WMV recently?
I was
I
there,
haven't. Have things smoothed out a bit?
I was there
Stashing
Saturday.
all your recycling.
What's that?
Yeah. Garage.
Yeah.
I was there Saturday, I went to the swap, and there were 5 cars maybe waiting online, so it was,
I think
was more like.
adding another hour on Saturday, I did our monthly dump run and recycle run, and it went uneventfully with minimum traffic.
It looked to me
Yeah.
like it was sort of like a typical Saturday used to look, but,
So they're starting to streamline it a bit, hopefully.
yeah,
It's doable, it's not, it's,
that's what it is.
it's what it is, it's what's available.
Yep.
Okay,
All right.
warrants.
Warrants.
For purposes of Karen.
Right.
AP warrant 11, $43,045.21. The listing is there. Karen, payroll warrant 19. for $10,199.10. This is a bi-weekly that includes the library. There will warrant 20 for $5,527.95. Does not have library in it because they're paid bi-weekly.
Now you're trying to confuse us, aren't you?
That's it.
Another one, or-
Nope, this is the checks that go with the AP warrant.
So I will make a motion that we approve and sign the warrants as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Once you sign them.
What's this, good enough? What's the monthly service?
What's that?
Good enough rubbish removal?
Good now.
Oh,
Good now. That's
Now,
okay, it's
yes,
Australia.
Yeah.
That
They're
is,
good enough, though.
It's the invasion of the Australians.
rubbish removal, fire station
Oh,
has a dumpster
That's
and
right.
highway has a dumpster and recycling.
And they do recycling, right?
And they do
Yeah.
recycling.
Yeah.
Yeah, any trash haulers, and this is true, any commercial properties, any residential properties, who pay a trash hauler, that trash hauler is supposed to provide recycling services. Free of charge, which is why your trash is so expensive.
correct, 120.
I think he does go by good enough, actually.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Craig
Yeah,
is
yeah.
good enough.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
good.
good enough, right.
Yeah.
All right,
But you guys.
good to know.
You-
Yeah, I knew that, yeah.
That's the way they say it up north, but.
Well, Route 4, that ain't how they do it.
That's right. Better good enough than bad enough, right? All right, anything else? We have,
I have no other business.
any calls for executive session?
I have not prepared what I desired to do for an executive session, so we'll have to do it next time.
Okay. In that case,
So moved.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
Thank you, gentlemen.
thank you.
It's funny.